Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Amber Peterson. I'm with Permian Peterson Associates, and this is your weekly pop-up health conversation. And this week, we're going to tackle purpose. I feel like in the evolution of going through some of these topics with you folks, that we've been talking about the what now, the what now, the what now, what's happening now, maybe what we're experiencing. Now we're going to touch on that a little bit, but really, where do we go from here? What do we do? And when I was thinking about that, purpose came to mind really strongly, actually, kind of smacked me in the face. And I wrote it up on my board and said, this is this week's comment, purpose. So, this conversation. So let's talk about purpose. And we're going to, for the recording, we're not going to go through introductions, but we are going to jump right to the information. So, purpose. How do we use it to get through this time? And I would say either build something for ourselves temporarily right now, as far as purpose goes, or maybe something new for later, for post-COVID, whatever that might look like or might mean. If we ever have a post-COVID, it kind of feels like sometimes. But here we are. So I want to start with, as usual, let's talk about definitions. How do we define purpose? It's such a big thing. And I'm gonna define purpose, but I'm also gonna throw in there meaning, because a lot of times meaning and purpose, not even a lot of times, they are hand in hand, meaning and purpose. And I'll say a lot of times we mix them and maybe get them confused with each other when they are really two separate things. So purpose first is the degree to which life is directed and motivated by valued goals. Now this comes from George and Parks in their tripartite model of meaning. I'm going to cover that just in a minute here. But I love this. It's really how are we directed and motivated by our goals, our values, our belief systems. That's our purpose and our drive. As where meaning is around the significance, the value, and importance we find. It's really those experiences. So it's the values piece. So the purpose is the motivation behind it, right? Where we're motivated to go with it, but the meaning is the value in what drives that. So hand in hand, two separate things. We'll touch on meaning in a following week. I feel like we're leading to meaning, but this week we'll talk about purpose. So the tripartite theory of meaning. I got this from Professor Olhoff in St. Mary's University of Minnesota when I was studying under him a couple years ago now. And if you ever get to look up some of his writing, he has a whole slew of different things that he writes on. Really, really interesting. Love his writing. And he brought me this model, which I think is fantastic. There's three parts that George and Parks say feed into the meaning in life. And purpose is just a slice of that, an important slice, but just a slice. So again, the degree to which we're motivated by those valued goals. The two other slices really quickly, comprehension. Do things fit together? Do they make sense in our lives, and how our lives, how we interact with others, what's happening to us in our experiences, do they make sense? And then the mattering part. What degree does our life have meaning for us, or things that we do in our lives have meaning to us and value, significance? Or on the other side, do we feel valued? Do we feel like we matter in our lives to other people, to other things, to processes? Those are the three pieces. Now, George and Park say that these three pieces come together to create the meaning that we find in life. I agree. I think that's really wise. So, but purpose. Let's talk a little bit more about purpose in the sense of right now with COVID. Purpose in COVID. Oh, I know that, and I've heard from so many people that we are being asked to, or forced to, find a new purpose or reevaluate our current purpose right now. I'll raise my hand right now and saying that I'm definitely reevaluating my current purpose, have been for the whole last month, I would say. And it's challenging. It's hard. It really drives down into the soul of asking. It has thrown me into the space of asking a lot of questions. Why am I here? Am I creating value? Am I providing value for others? Where do I go? I found myself kind of doing the hands up, walking around saying, I don't even know what to do right now in some cases, right? And I know I've heard from others. We have been asked to find new purpose in our jobs. Some people have lost their jobs as part of COVID, right? Just want to acknowledge that. A lot of lost jobs right now, and that's thrown people into where we had purpose in working, now have to find purpose elsewhere in our lives. Or we're, as where they show in the picture, everybody's clustered together, we're in a great working space together. Now we're being asked to work apart virtually. What does that mean? How does that change our purpose? Acknowledging that. Also, that we're not allowed to gather in big spaces right now. So I see this as two pieces, whether it's religious, whether it's for entertainment, comedy. We have another purpose in that gathering. It's the people in the crowd not being able to be together in the same space. That can change that part of our purpose, as where the person whoever is in front of these people, whether it's a religious leader or an entertainer or someone else, their purpose, the work part, right, is very much being challenged, changed, taken away potentially. So the last one, this is a little closer to my heart right now, is that the relationships that we have are being challenged. And if we found purpose around our relationships, specifically in this, I pulled out this picture of grandparents with grandchildren. That's tough. That's tough when we're being asked to change the way we interact, whether it's the frequency, it's the closeness, it's how we interact, when. There's a lot of change right now on the lines of purpose. And I found when I was looking through the research that I did on purpose in police officers a few years back, I found this line from a book on traumatic stress in police officers, and it was isolation through role restriction. When I read that, I really resonated with that. We're really being restricted in our roles right now. Asked to stay static, asked to stay home, and that's restricting us, isolating us for good reason, but still, and that changes how we look at our purpose, or how we're allowed to. Now, what do we do? Okay, we've acknowledged that this has changed. What do we do from here? We're in this weird space. We're asked to reevaluate or temporarily, permanently. We don't even know. We don't know yet. Things are changing so quickly. Well, I have a couple ponderings, and then I have a model that I want to share that maybe you could use if it strikes you, to evaluate what do you want to choose as your current purpose. Let's go along the lines of that. We can choose that. So finding purpose. First of all, I want to talk about mindset. And it's really, what's the story that you're telling yourself? And I go back to the old bricklayer story, that there's a man walking along and he comes along 3 bricklayers. The first bricklayer, he asks the first man, "What are you doing?" And the first man says, "I'm laying bricks. This is part of my job." Okay, great. Second man, "What are you doing?" "I'm laying bricks, building a building for people, for my community." Excellent. Third man, "What are you doing?" "I am laying bricks to build a cathedral for God." Bigger, higher purpose. Now, whether God is in your vocabulary, not changing, different, what that is getting at is that how big do we see our purpose? How big do we see ourselves in what we're doing right now, or where we're at? And I'm going to say that some of that responds to where we are with stress. Now, it's a big and never-ending loop where there's stress and there's purpose, and how big that purpose is. And if we're under a lot of stress, sometimes we go into a hole because we go into that safe space within ourselves, and maybe we find purpose in a small way of just protecting myself right now. That's not small, but it's short. It's smaller just to me. At the same time, though, I might be able to lessen my stress if I see my purpose in a big, broader sense of how can I help others, which I'll get to in a moment. So what's your mindset? Second pondering with purpose is, what are your deep values? What brings you joy long term? And I say long term, and I put the picture on here of coffee because short term, I love coffee. It brings me great joy in the mornings, sometimes into the afternoons. But really, what I'm getting at behind the picture here is that service to people. For some, service to others brings them long-term joy. Beautiful, beautiful. And that can create a great purpose, a great big purpose. But what is your deep value that's driving you that you could use towards your purpose? Pondering. And the last thing is that outward focus. Does my purpose, or maybe does my deep value help others? Now, Angela Duckworth, this is the picture of her in her book, Grit, Fantastic book. Pick it up sometime. She talks about that we will find deeper purpose if it is directed outwards, if it will help others. That we will find more longer term, deeper, more satisfaction that way. And I want to add too here, I don't have it on the slide, but if you're looking at this and thinking, and you have employees, or you're an employee in an organization and you're thinking, how can I connect this back to my employees? Couple thoughts. David Ulrich in his book talking about building abundant organizations, he talks about, and I think this is especially true for right now, helping people find personal hope for the future. Personal hope for the future. And in the meantime, helping them create value for your customers, your clients, your citizens, whoever you serve right now. That's going to help all loop into this purpose. Personal hope, creating value, bringing those two together. Second thing is that Human Synergistics, a company that my business partner and I use a lot in their culture tools and individual development tools, they have studies around how technology breaks down our relationships. So important right now as we're all working in this virtual atmosphere together. And it makes it, if we are already coming from a place where we maybe don't have a constructive culture, it makes it harder because we're apart. We're not in the same space together. So really, one thing you can do there, if you're thinking about it from that mind frame, is share your mission and share it well. Now, that means sharing stories of how people are connecting with clients and citizens right now and bringing that back to your mission. It's about that purpose and that hope and how we serve others. And maybe talking with your staff about how has our mission changed right now? Or how is it strengthened as a part of COVID? Questions you can ponder and share with people, asking them what their opinion is. That will help with culture too. Third thing that I want to share is something that Angela Duckworth said, and it's linking what your employees are doing back to their own core values. So you have to get to know people as a part of that. Maybe this is a good time to do that. But really getting to know people, what are their core values, link it back to their work, and ask them, don't tell them, ask them, how can they influence other people during this time? That will help them find purpose. So out of the organizational atmosphere, back into the personal space, I want to give you the model. Human Systems Dynamics Institute, near and dear to my heart, they have this model called the decision map. So usually they use this in order to evaluate a decision we've already made. And I'm going to propose that we use it in a little bit different way today and use it to evaluate a decision for the future, a decision on our purpose. What is our purpose going to be during this time? And you'll notice that I'm going to use the adaptive action cycle as a part of this. If you're not sure what that is, go to their website. It's all on there, all the resources they share. They just ask if you share them, that you cite them. So what? Let's gather the information here as a part of the decision map. What is the current context I must pay attention to? What is my current reality? I'll use myself as the example. 3 big things in my current reality. 1, I'm at home all the time. 2, my daughter is with me all the time. And 3, my clients are also at home, which means that either we're not working together at the moment because their brains are somewhere else, or we're not able to, or 2, I have to work with them in a different way. I have to work with them over the virtual atmosphere. So those facts feed into my purpose, feed into some of my decision-making in this case. The second bit of information. What are the rules right now? Those might be expectations, agreements, written rules, regulations. Well, the big one is in Minnesota, in the US, our governor has said you must stay at home. We have that currently through May 4th, fingers crossed. But that's a big rule right now. The expectation is you go out as little as possible. Now, there's also an expectation that with a first responder living in my house, we go out even less because really he's interacting with a lot of people on a regular basis who may or may not be sick. So now I'll say an agreement as a part of this, looping back to that my daughter is at home with me, is that prior to COVID, my mother-in-law was providing daycare for us in her home for the most part. And we have last week, it's a constantly changing, right? The rules and everything are constantly changing. Last week, we said walking only. We had this agreement that she was going to go on walks with my daughter in order to have time with her and to give me time to work when and where I could. Now we have amended that agreement to say sometime in her home, a little bit of time for Cora to go over to her house. That helps, right? But it's a fact of now that I need to keep into consideration for myself. The last one, worldview. What are my values, beliefs, and experiences? That's really what this is. And for me, I'll say the one huge value that I have is helping others. Helping others learn, grow, change, adapt, be healthy. It's really that help, that assistance that I see as and that's driving towards my purpose, right? So now the next steps in the adaptive action cycle. So what? So what does this all mean for me right now? Well, I want to step out of the atmosphere and say, out of the example and say, never skip this step and spend time in this step, this so what, this meaning making, because meaning making will help us connect back to what we're feeling, back to what we're experiencing. It decreases the negative feelings around a situation if we've made meaning and put ourselves within it, and it helps us move forward. So the meaning making. What does this mean for me right now? Well, I'll say that how I work with my clients has changed, and how I can help others has changed. My side gig is I teach fitness classes, and lo and behold, the YMCA is closed right now, right? That's how it goes. So I have to connect with my clients there in a different way as well. And I'll acknowledge that I have barriers to the moment. One, not being able to be in person, but two, does everybody have the technology to connect? Or do I have the time? Do I have the ability? Sometimes I have a screaming 18-month-old who needs my attention. That's how it goes. And that's the meaning part for me. Now, as much as I see the obstacles, I also see the possibilities that, whereas before I was meeting mostly in person with folks, with clients, I have a much broader range of people at my fingertips right now because we're connected through the virtual atmosphere. Meaning making, possibilities, beautiful. And the last one, now what? Now, what am I going to do about it? This is our action right here. So for me personally, I'm looking at this and thinking about the challenges that I have right now, the possibilities that I have, my deep value that I find, and how I can move forward with that. My deep value in helping people. One, I'll back up to a whole month ago. Kathy brought up the possibility of doing these talks. I loved it. Yes. And we're here now. We're doing this. This is one way. This is helping me connect back to my purpose of helping people. I've had to reevaluate that purpose, right, as a whole part of this. And it's still something that I can do. So even though I have to change the way I do it, it's still something I can do. And also being able to bring, say, classes to folks online. Again, a way that I can do it. Now what, also in helping people, I'm maybe not looking at, I'm thinking about all the possibilities I have of helping people in person, but keeping 6 feet. Maybe after this order goes away. We'll see. We'll see, and I'm generating the possibilities in my mind. So the decision map, great tool, can be used in many different ways as a part of looking at your own personal choices, decisions right now or in the future, organizationally, group-wise, lots of possibilities. The last thought I want to leave with us today is a beautiful quote from Viktor Frankl. So he was a Holocaust survivor, and I love this quote from him, right? Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. And all in his research, he found that those were two huge driving factors for people surviving, for one, talking back to the Holocaust or even now, but surviving and then moving forward. Find meaning and purpose. So what I take away from that personally is that I need to make sure that I have something driving me every single day, especially through this time, through this challenge, to get me to, one, to post-COVID. We'll get there, guys. We'll get there. And two, maybe something beautiful and creative and wonderful will come of it. And that creates this awesome new opportunity after being as we come back. So with that, I want to say thank you for your time today. Those few resources that I used and talked about, one was hsdinstitute.org. Oh, go to their website. They have so much good stuff on there, not to mention blog posts and different talks and videos and, oh, great stuff. Second thing is researchgate.net is where I got the article from George and Park on the meaning scale. Check it out. It's brainy and it's fun. The last two books, Angela Duckworth Grit and Viktor Frankl Man's Search for Meaning. Check them out. Contact me. Let me know, how are you doing? What have you chosen for your purpose? I'm curious and I want to know, and I want to know how I can help. And now through mid-May, around that time, we're offering free executive coaching, and I would add in free health coaching. So all you need to do, send an email, pick up the phone, send a text, visit our website, get in contact with us, and let's talk about how we can move forward together. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next week, same time.